Hello, dear friends. The week 3, and we have to approach understanding of 16 types. It can be a bit overwhelming if you just read all of them and to remember them. That's why I will try to navigate you to make it easier for you to remember them. And we start with a general picture. The general picture is that 16 types are divided in 4 groups which have got general traits. This is the traits which we already learned about: rationality, extraversion, introversion. So there will be 4 groups, and also static dynamics. As a third dichotomy. I didn't talk last time about it, but it's quite easy to understand in a way that static, it is the people who perceive information as stable, and it is easier for them to understand information when it is stable. So, for example, if there is a film which you see changing picture, it is easy for you to stop this picture, then you can see at once the whole, what is in the picture, like no movement, and then you can find the core, the essence of the meaning of the relation between all these objects. And dynamic types, it is easier for them and more interesting to see how situation is changing, how objects is changing, how they move. They more often remember the past and think about the future, and they can sort of predict how it's going to happen. So it is one of the reigning dichotomies which we're using because it is connected with 2 dichotomies I mentioned before. So we will have 4 groups, and these are the same groups as temperament groups. Maybe you have come across already. Temperament groups, the same for Myers-Briggs typology, but I'm not meaning Kirsty, and for socionics. These are the groups which were associated with classic temperaments created by Claudius Galen. He was a physician, lived long time ago, and he described first these temperaments, and they are known as melancholic, sanguine, phlegmatic, and choleric. So the best way these temperaments associated with introverted irrational, melancholic, extroverted irrational, sanguine, rational extroverts are choleric, and rational introverts phlegmatic. However, it's not just one temperament which we have got additional. We can make almost the profile, starting with the one which is dominant, then next one is like sub-temperament, complementary, and then we come to the point which temperament is absolutely like non-existing. There is a little bit of it. Because we're changing the moods, obviously, we will have all of them, but in different quantity. So, yes, and the pictures which I posted, they describe sanguine temperament as being optimistic and social, choleric being short-tempered and irritable, melancholic being analytical and quiet, and phlegmatic being relaxed and peaceful. And when we try to associate these temperaments with our traits, basic traits, we can say that sanguine and choleric are extroverted temperaments, and melancholic and phlegmatic are introverted temperaments. I also posted the picture of colorful temperament description where you can read more about it. Choleric is quick to judge, easy to anger and unforgiving, ambitious, heroic. Melancholic is poetic, analytical, thoughtful and reserved, sometimes anxious. Phlegmatic is quiet and complacent, can be hard to motivate, likes comfort, peacemaker. And sanguine, social activities, loves people, delight in change, trouble concentrating, loving, forgiving, innovative, and so on. It is important to understand how we can describe the types from the perspective of psychic energies. And for this, we will go to Sigmund Freud, who is like the father of psychology. He is a pioneer in developing the theory of personality and developed psychoanalysis approach to studying personality. And all these studies started in 19th century. Before Sigmund Freud, people didn't know that there is unconscious, that there is some sort of hidden mechanics of psychological makeup of people. Personality structure of Sigmund Freud is called Freud's iceberg model. The simplest one shows 3 parts of personality, and one is deep, like in the waters, deep in unconscious mind. And 2 other parts are partly conscious. It is ego and superego. And the second picture, Freudian personality structure, describes these parts of personality. It operates according to pleasure principle. It is instinctive parts of people which make them similar to animal in some sort. It is primitive and unconscious part of personality. It, according to Freud, gives energy, shares energy, and creates part of personality which is called ego. Ego operates according to the reality principle. What does it actually mean? If it is about people wanting things, wanting to satisfy their needs, which is the need for food, the need for feeling warm, and so on. Everything what comes with the body, all these needs. But it is irrational part. It doesn't take into account anything, and people would behave like animals more or less, you know, if just this part would be there. But there is ego, who is like a judge, evaluates situation and says, actually directs the person to decide when it is the best part to get what the person wants. So this is a conscious part, and there is a superego part, which deals with moral ideals and conscience. superego part is associated with a strict parent who either punishes the child, tell him off, or on the opposite, praise the child or the person for good behavior, for right behavior, and so on. Teaches the person how to live right and how to survive in the society, between among people. So according to Freud, superego and ego, part of it conscious, because we really needed to live in a society. Some of them is pre-conscious. It is some memories and some knowledge which we probably learned, but we don't use it every day, so we don't really need to remember all of that immediately. But if we start remember, then it will be there. And unconscious part. And unconscious part is which we don't have really, how to say, control of it. Freud believed that if people had some painful memories, situations, the conscious actually moves it further down to unconscious so that it doesn't bother us to live. But being in unconscious, still these memories and undissolved issues and can create problems for us in a conscious life. So psychoanalysis, that was an approach to deal with this bad memories and complexes, psychological issues. This method was created so that the doctor can dig out of personality, out of unconscious, all this, retrieve all these bad memories, and this way to provide treatment and resolve the issues. When people just relaxed and remember things, how it was, and then it may come out. Something, that's approximately how it was. So, yes, and before me, nobody really associated this psychic energies with typology. But I thought it's pretty easy. For example, it, the part of it, this structure had two opposite desires. It is desire to live and desire to die. And Sigmund Freud associated it also with gods in Greek mythology, Eros, which represents the life to drive, enjoyment, promote survival, reproduction, social cooperation, and Thanatos, which represents death drive, leads people to experience aggression, engage in risky behavior, experience past traumas, and so on. So it is very opposite ideas, and combine in one something, create something very unusual. It is like feeling pleasure through pain, or I don't know, if you get used that oranges are orange, then something unusual would be like black orange or blue orange. This kind of thing, they represent irrationality, something which we do not normally have in real life. So we can say that it is irrational. But because we have got actually 4 groups, not 3, and we have got, in model A, we also have got 4 parts of personality, we have got super it, apart from it, ego, and super ego, which were parts of Freud's personality structure. In Satonics, we have got also super it. the other part. And I have associated it, I have divided it into groups. It as a sanguine personality, associated with Eros, enjoyment of life, and superate, it is melancholic type personality, which is associated with dark side of people, yeah. And also with superate, I associated from Carl Jung archetypes, the shadow. This part of personality which we don't really want to be observed by others. We all have dark sides, dark thoughts maybe, and so on. But today we will be talking about it, psychic energy, and it personality types. There is information about Eros and Thanatos that in 1920 Sigmund Freud published the book Beyond the Pleasure Principle, where he applied the concept of Eros to psychoanalysis. He referred to Eros as the life instinct, which includes sexual instincts, the drive to life, and basic instinctual impulses such as thirst and hunger. Its counterpart is Thanatos, which is the death instinct. So these are two powerful instincts of nature, and nature is irrational. So both of these psychic energies are irrational. But then we have got also extraversion and introversion, and obviously it is extroverted type of energy. It's also represents childhood. Yeah, when children play, they active, they see the world and learn about the world through the game. Actually, Thanatos, it is more associated with an old age, when people are old, ill, they cannot do already as much as healthy adults do. So, and this is where the people prepare for the death, for the end of life. And when we look at it types, being irrational extroverted types, they are also static types in sozionics. The values of it energy, if you look at 8 sozionics functions, we have got 2 irrational functions, intuition and sensory. They are divided also in being extroverted, it is intuition of possibilities we call, and sensory of power. And there are some functions which are introverted, which belong to superate type of energy. It will be also intuition, but introverted intuition, it's about, we call it intuition of time, intuition of changes, intuition of doubt, and then it will be also sensory, but not of power, but sensory of comfort, yeah, of harmony, space harmony, and so on, of hedonism, enjoying food, and so on and so on, these sensations. I just mentioned it, but we will be talking about intuition of possibilities. It is extroverted intuition, and in sozionics it has got a sign of a black triangle, and that's why sometimes instead of saying extroverted intuition, we say black intuition, and we understand that it is about extroversion. And black sensory is represented with a black circle. These symbols were created by Augustine. So within the group of it types, we have got 2 intuitive types, whose program function is intuition of possibilities. It is Thomas Henry Huxley, English biologist and anthropologist who specialized in comparative anatomy. It is Huxley is intuitive ethical type. And Don Quixote, intuitive logical extrovert. Don Quixote is actually a hero of the literature, yeah, because our sometimes associated with real people who lived or before, and sometimes with characters of literature. And this actually become very popular because people started to analyze literature and type some of the characters from the literature, and also because she associated it with some real people. People also, socialists also looked at the way this pseudotype look, and this gave birth to visual diagnostic and socionics by similarity in face features and so on, and not only this. So what is common about about Huxley and Don Quixote type people? Their program function is intuition, and this intuition is ideas. People have many ideas. They kind of go with the flow very easily. They are very open. They like to keep open because they might change their priority of what they want. Very interesting people. The world is interesting for them, and you will be never bored having as friends Huxley or Don Quixote type people, because they collect lots of information. They know a lot. Downside of this type of people is that they might start something new because they got an interest in something new, but they don't finish exactly what they started. The difference between them also in a secondary function, which is ethics, ethics of relations, we call it introverted ethics for Huxley, and introverted logic for Don Quixote. How we see it, that logical types, they really care about logical consistency, not as much as the program logic. Yeah, this is a secondary logic. It's a little bit more easygoing. But generally, yes, Don Quixote create many interesting theories. You just need to check it. If you're rational type, you will check it. And anyway, and Ausschau Stevenchuta represent this type. And Huxley's, they a bit less interested in logic. They really like to be free, and they're good designers. They're good to promote things, good with people generally. So, and the next, yeah, I just wanted to say about Don Quixote, but there is information which I gave you already about it, and there is a film about it. He was sort of a little bit elusive person, a little bit so kind of funny person, and his friend whom he took on his adventures of Don Quixote was his opposite, and people see like a dual types between Don Quixote and his friend who cared for him, Sancho Panza. And this is actually Dumas. We will talk about later about this type. So second, the other two types from it types is Napoleon, French emperor, and Zhukov, Marshal Zhukov, who was very popular during World War II. He was like a chief commander, and then promoted to marshal. What is common for these types in terms of they both have program sensory, extroverted sensory. Extroverted sensory is about it's about power, it's about freedom, having power, accumulation of wealth as well, because it all belongs to power. And this is a sort of physical power, yeah, but it's also hierarchical power of hierarchy. And that's why Napoleon proclaimed himself emperor and created almost absolute monarchy. He has rewritten constitution of France, where he gave himself that much powers. People, if we're talking about sensory ethical type, like Napoleon, it's also people like the beauty of objects, yeah, the beauty of themselves. They try to dress very nicely, maybe very brightly, like Elvis Presley, you know, all in beautiful sparkly stones and so on, flowers. And if we talk about Zhukov, it's not that much about beautiful style of clothes, or also we can see it. For example, this type is Elton John, and if you remember his outfits for the concert, they're very colorful, they're very kind of childish sometimes, you know, sparkly. But generally, what is important that these types love their body, and they don't mind to show off their body. If you remember that, like Pink, it's another singer which represents this type, Zhukov type, sensory logical extrovert, and she was like nearly naked on one of the concerts and so on. So, but also they are good at military, these people, because they feel the power of the enemy or of the opponent, yeah, and they know that they have either submit to this power if it is bigger than what they have, and then create some sort of other intrigues or find other ways to overpower the enemy. Yes, about physical power, yeah, get what belongs to you. Can be as well aggressive. It's about the territory also, to get more territory, to protect the territory. It is about sensory. Yes, so the difference between, as I mentioned already, ethics or logics. And if you read, for example, about Napoleon, how many things he did, you know, in ethical field. Also, he is also considered as a great military commander. He established a system of public education, emancipated Jews, abolished Spanish Inquisition, enacted the principle of equality before the law, and etc. and etc. If you will read about him. Yes, and yes, so that's about it. Actually, today the lecture was a little bit longer. In the book, I have organized descriptions of 16 types a little bit different. It goes like in pairs, duals. Like first is Zhukov, and next the description of dual. Because I thought if you compare it, you will see kind of the striking difference, how types complement each other. But now I decided that maybe it's better to start with the general group traits, like eat irrational, extrovert, static. And if you read about them, intuitive types, Don Quixote and Huxley, and sensory types, Napoleon and Zhukov, that it will be easier for you to start to learn about the types. If you have got any question, please write about it. And I also would be interested to know how good you understand these types, can differentiate when you type people. If one of the type is yours, if you are it type, would you agree to what I said? Because as I mentioned before about temperaments, yeah, they are associated with Galen classic, these groups, with Galen classic temperaments, but it is not strict. If you are introvert, yeah, you are not, if you even super ego type, yeah, you might feel like you have got melancholic type. So they are a little bit sweeping, and on the opposite, what is melancholic type in theory, it could be actually phlegmatic more. So it is not exactly rigid structure, rigid association. That's all what I wanted to say. Yes, thank you very much, and thank you for listening.